I'm an economic sociologist, and much of my work focuses on the role that identity plays in marketplaces. And so here we can talk about identity of persons or places, and this last project is really focused on how the identity of a place has been tagged as both ethnic, and for a long time that ethnic tag was a negative, but by the strategic use of the arts, that ethnic tag has been transformed into something positive. This is a natural pathway for thinking about the role of the arts in economic development, because much of what people are talking about when you talk about economic development is how do we evaluate the worth of a place, what does that place have to offer. Philadelphia was interesting to me in part because I was at University of Pennsylvania for 2 years. I had learned about this neighborhood because they had had a festival. When I ventured there and saw what was going on, I became really interested in it, in part because before I left, I had people in Center City telling me, oh, you don't want to go there because it's the Badlands. And it had had this moniker from around 94, 95. You had Ted Koppel on ABC's Nightline doing a feature story called The Badlands, Death of an American Neighborhoods. And yet by 2003, you have it in the papers for winning an award for Best New Art Event, and you have all these other types of presentations of this neighborhood that would have been unthinkable in the mid-90s. And so part of the question was for me, if you have this place that had been an emblem of decay, and now it is being talked about as a place of promise, what happened? And so one of the things that arts movements sometimes help do is it tamps down the sense that this is a disorderly place, because how could so much good, or how could things that should only be appreciated by the enlightened come out of a place that's fully disorganized and unworthy of our attention? And so this is one of the challenges that people face when they're talking about revitalizing neighborhoods in places like Detroit and other discredited places, is that what you can do if you're a discredited place is really different from what you can do if people are willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. So you can't just go pretend that there's not crime, or you can't just pretend that you don't have a multitude of troubles. You have to acknowledge those troubles and get people to start thinking about transformation in the presence of troubles. When you see the arts working well, they're often working well in tandem with local business owners. And what happened in Philadelphia, for example, is you had a community that had maybe 1 or 2 dedicated art spaces, and yet it was mounting all of these art exhibits on a single night. Why? Because business owners stepped up and said, we're going to transform parts of our storefront into an art exhibition space. And what the artists were then doing is they have networks that expand well outside of these communities, and some of the artists come from outside of the community, and when they show up, they bring their networks with them. And so you had this coming together of interest, and you had business owners saying, you know, it makes it much more pleasant to go to work, and rethinking design and doing upgrades of storefront space. And you had a community development corporation that was pulling in money to redo the sidewalks and put in more trees and put in palm trees and do particular types of design elements that would mark the ethnic character of the neighborhood, and that would be also a boon for businesses. And so to the extent that you have these business owners recognizing the role that the arts can play and being willing to help out and promoting the arts, that's when I think you start seeing success.